Fletcher became the first advisor to the house and was the advisor for a couple of years. They needed space to meet. There was a tavern on South Main Street. I believe this tavern is roughly where there was a gas station down at the intersection on Main Street below the post office. It was somewhere down there, and they rented a second floor room above the tavern. Appropriate place. Can you imagine going to the college these days and saying, "Yeah, we want to form a new student group," and oh yeah, we've got a room rented already for our meetings. It's in a bar. It's cool. No, they'll fly over like a brick plane. But anyway, Gamma Delta meets up there, and then they moved up Main Street next to a jeweler, and eventually they got their own house. I don't know how large it was or quite where it was. They rented a place, and everything was fine. They took on the class of '09. They took on the class of '10. And the class of '10 included a bunch of people who would be very active for a long time. The class of '11, the class of '12, you have Lime Arms in the class of '12. And they continue taking on brothers and members on up through the class of 1915 when they took Warren E. Monsey. And Lime Arms class of 12 and Warren E. Monsey class of 15 would become very significant later as some of the incorporators of Gamma Delta Chi. So that's where they fit in. Now, the problem was after they took on the class of 1915, things weren't going so well. I'm not sure why, but around May of 1912, they concluded business and the chapter lapsed. The brothers were all Gamma Delts, but there was no effective fraternity running in their name at that point. And eventually the papers of that organization found their way into the archives. Now around May 9th of 1914, you have another group of students who's motivated by the same reasons to form a local fraternity, and they form what is called the Occam Club. If you look in the old aegises, you'll see pictures of them sitting together. Eventually, they took on a national charter and became the Theta Zeta chapter of Lambda Delta Chi. And they actually began recruiting well. And by the 1920s, they were having classes of 25 to 30 people apiece, and they built their own building. Now this building stands beyond Gamma Delta Chi, beyond Alpha Theta, and I believe it's now the Occam House. So the Occam Club became Lambda Delta Chi. Lambda Chi Alpha became the Occam House, and that stands out near where the old hospital used to be. They did pretty well for a long time. By the time of the Depressions, they were starting to run down. They ran their last pledge class through in 1932, the 32s. And then they would approach Gamma Delta Chi at a later time, around 1936, and all those brothers would be taken in. But that was another group that was out there around 1914. The next group is the Epsilon Kappa Alpha fraternity, and that is 1915 that they formed. I don't have any of those early papers, but they took a period after World War I in 1918 when they became a national chapter, a local chapter of a national fraternity, the Alpha Chi Rhos. They became the Phi Nu chapter of the Alpha Chi Rhos. And they had a very nice house from roughly 1918 until about 1930. And as I said earlier, Baker Library would intrude on everything.